Hello, this is Luke Turner, and I'm back with another episode of Building an Exercise Tracking Web App from Scratch. So let's see here. Let's just get started. Run the database. Run the client-side code bundler. And there we go. In a new tab, run the server. Cool. So now we can open up the app. Sign in. And get started. So what do we actually want to get started on? Let's think about that. Let's look at the notes. So we still have a bunch of stuff here under what do I need to do to ship. We can probably just start picking some things off the list here. One thing before I do that, though, I kind of want to wrap up on some stuff that we didn't quite figure out at the end of last stream. So let's go here. Let's actually just open this. So one of the things we were doing before was trying to implement this sorting and running into some issues with the sorting algorithm or like with my use of the sort function, which was not correct. So I figured that out. I do have this staged change here to just clean up this unnecessary thing that I noticed after the stream as well. So just going to do that. And we're also going to, in the client side code here, under sort exercises, yeah, we're going to not use sort by anymore. I think we can remove that dependency. So as a quick explanation, like the problem, what I was doing before was using like say return exercises.sort A, B, and then I was doing like A dot name less than B dot name. But with sort, it actually is supposed to return an integer, not a Boolean. So like in this case, returning A.name less than B.name is either going to be true or false. What I really should have done is something more like this, A.name minus B.name. But then you can't really do that with strings. So one thing I did actually learn about, kind of coincidentally at work recently, is there's a locale compare function for comparing strings that you can use in your sort. So let's use that. Instead of this, we would do like, this could just be, how do I use this? Is this a method? Yeah, so it'd be like a.locale compare B. A lot simpler. We'll want to test that out though to make sure that it's working as expected here. We go manage exercises. Seems like I need to create some new ones. Let's create one called, well, let's create some like actual exercises here. Planks with duration. Barbell press with weight and reps. Deadlift with weight and reps. Just some random examples here. But they're, okay. They're not actually showing up in the list at all though. So there's clearly something. Oh, this should be too sorted. Right. right? Oh, first this should be name, b.name. I bet if I looked in the console here, I probably have an error about that. Yeah. Okay, so now we can see it's doing the thing, sorting by name alphabetically, and even like if I were to create an exercise starting with a lowercase a, it should be sorted at the top. Yeah. Cool. So with that, we can actually get rid of the Lodash sorted by library, or sort by, or whatever it's called. So let's uninstall that. Where is that? Here it is. Done. Uninstall that thing. Cool. Let's commit that. So we're going to use locale compare for sorting, move sort by. And let's put the Lodash dot sort by. Okay. What is next? So we could implement this used as well. Oh, actually, I'm using sort by here as well. I got to clean that up too. So this would be like, oh, let's just copy this all actually. And we can even get rid of the reverse probably and just do b dot updated at minus a dot updated at. Pardon me. Right? I think something like that will work. So now we've got our sort by name, and then we can sort by recently updated. And we've got that ADF1 at the top. Okay. Cool. Let's commit that as well. Amending the last commit. Okay, so now we can implement the sort by used here. Sort by most recently used. So in order to do that, we need to actually know which one was most recently used, or like when they were most recently used for each exercise. So that's not really something that's given to this function as a parameter currently. Oh, I can get rid of this to do as well. Let's actually put that in the same commit again. Commit staged amend. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to need some like additional information here in order to know when the exercises were most recently used. So I might have like a Actually, I mean, so here's what I'm thinking. We have a few options here. One is we could get a list of sets, all of the sets in history, pass it to this function and have it used to like to sort through those sets and group them by exercise and sort them by date and so on. Or we could have like a function in the back end that's going to do that, which probably makes more sense because you can do it basically in like a SQL query, you know, instead of having to like load every single set. Or another thing we could do is actually arrayify that calculation into an actual column in the database, which might not be a bad idea. So what I'm talking about with that is we would have a property on exercises, or yeah, on exercises called like used at, last used at. Sure. And that is going to be a timestamp as well. This one can be nullable, and it's not going to have any default times on it because we're going to be setting it when we create sets, is kind of what I'm thinking here. So now if we go to the like models for sets, I don't know if we have models for like every type of set update though. So let's actually look at the controller for sets here. Wherever that is, controllers, sets. And, you know, some of these examples like move, we don't really need to do anything. It's changing sets, but we don't need to update that exercise field that we're adding. Same with delete, pretty much just when a set is created or updated. So we could just add it right here, like db.update exercises table dot values, right? Or no, dot set, I guess. And we would set last used at to date.now. And then we need a where, right? Dot where ID equals exercise.id. What are we complaining about here? Number, okay, so that is wanting an actual date, new date. And this ID, am I not using where right, maybe? It's been a little while since I've used Drizzle, so I don't remember. Yeah, so I would do this actually. So where equals exercises table dot ID, exercise dot ID. Yes. Okay, so then we can just do the same thing. And maybe I'll make a method for this actually, just for sake of reusability. Export function, make it an async function, update exercise last used ID. ID. And this equals, we need to import. That's one of those things that it seems like it, oh, it is. Okay, what's the problem here then? Really, what is the problem here? Am I supposed to be able to understand this? Argument of type string is not assignable to parameter of type number or SQL wrapper. So the ID is supposed to be a number. And we want to return that. Just in case, it doesn't even really need to be async, but I'm going to leave it that way. In case we want to add more code later to it, it'll be convenient to have it async. And then we could just do exercise.id and await that. Okay, and then we can do the same thing when updating. And that's it. And really, when updating, you know, let's actually, so let me again explain what I'm thinking here. So say I create a set, and then like a week later, I go back and change the exercise for that set to something else. I don't want to set the exercise last used to the day that I changed that value. I want to set it to the original day that the set was created, right? I mean, you could set it to the set date, of course, and maybe that's the problem there, though, is it's like not very granular because date is just literally a date. So if somebody creates 2 or 3 sets in one day, those exercises, are going to be ambiguously sorted. I think created at is probably actually the best thing here. So let's do the problem with created at is we don't have the value. Can I do like dot returning? Can I return only specific? Yeah. What is T selected fields? What if I do like sets table dot created at? Okay, I need to like create it at like this. Is this right? Yeah, something like that. And then I could do like const created at. Oops. Oh, that's an object. Oh, one sec, gotta sneeze. You. Okay. I've been getting some like kind of hay fever lately, so. Yeah, so this would be more like, let's just do it like that. And this would be created at. Okay, so we need this function to accept a date. Okay. And then we would do the same thing down here. And that way this is going to be fine. Now, do we get the set beforehand here? No, so this also needs a returning. Can you do returning on a where? I think so. Or I mean an update. So same thing, updated at is going to be sets table dot updated at. Except, oh, I want to do created at. Yep. And then same thing again, I guess. So we'll do this. Created at equals that. Cool. Okay. So with that, we should be setting this value whenever an exercise is created or updated. Now, there is something kind of weird here where if I create an exercise, if I create a set with an exercise, and then later change the exercise for that set, in theory, I would need to reset the last used at value for the original exercise that's no longer referenced by that set. I think that's a bit of an edge case, though. I'm hoping that users won't run into that or really notice that because I don't think I'm going to fix it. We're just going to kind of go with what we've got here. So I saw some unused imports. Let's remove those. And here, so we're adding this last used at field. So we're actually going to need a migration. Let's go ahead and do that in its own commit. Migration generate, run migration generate. Bloop. And this is just adding that updated at column. Did I set that as not null? I don't think so, right? I didn't mean to. No, okay, I didn't. Good. All right, so let's add the schema stuff first. Schema and migration stuff. And we will call this add last updated at field to sets table. Oh no, to exercises table. And last used at, right? Okay. And then I'm going to do something where it's like set last used at when sets are created or updated. And let's test this out, actually. So let's open up Table Plus and webapp tester local. Oh, no, wait, that's not it. Let's close this, right? Did I? Oh, is it this one? Yeah, okay, there we go. Behind 82 updates, where do you see that? Oh, the Table Plus thing? Yeah. I think I might actually need to buy an updated license to get the latest updates. But I really like Table Plus, so they've added a lot of features, have they? Yeah, maybe I should take a look at that at some point. Works fine, well enough as is, but you know, I always want to get the latest features, you know. Not to mention security things or whatever, if there's anything like that. But okay, so what was I doing? Oh yeah, I want to make sure that this field is getting set correctly. Let's go ahead and create a new set today. Oh, got to restart my app. They support Terso and Prisma Postgres now too. Interesting. Like Prisma, the node library, the JavaScript library. Okay, obviously something didn't work. Multiple assignments to same column updated at. What? Multiple assignments to same column? Is it because of my returning clauses? It won't tell me which query is causing the problem either. Well, let's just take a look at this. If we comment out these, do we still get the error? Oh, it did create the set, so it must be that. So if I do this again, it works. So there's something wrong with this. Hmm. Yes, the ORM, they've recently started a new business venture offering a database service. Oh, serverless Postgres by Prisma. Where are we changing updated at? Yeah, so actually in the schema, there's like a default thingy for updated at, this on update thing. So it's also defaulted in the database if you don't pass it in from the client. So it's kind of like whenever there's an update, it should be setting this thing. I don't understand why it would be setting it twice though. I mean, so that's set. So the exercises, this is like the actual one here for the exercises table. Oh, whoops. Yeah, okay. I don't really know what those timestamp strings are used for there, but I think it must have been that. Okay. Let's restart the server just in case. And we get another error. Column last used at does not exist. Did I mess up the migration too? Yes. Ugh. Okay. I wonder what happens if I do a new migration. Okay. So, oh, interesting. So that's why it was over here is dropping the constraints on the column. It wasn't even creating a new column. I didn't even notice that. Okay. Um, let's do the migration here. So fix this. And I'm going to actually put this in the same commit as the last bit. Yeah, you were hypothesizing that perhaps the update thing was doing that twice upon insertion. Yeah, I did consider that possibility as well, but it was working before I added that new column. So it kind of makes sense why something about the new column was the problem. Okay. And then what? Let's test it out again. I have it uncommented. Yep. Do I need to? Oh, I probably need to do bun run migration run. Yep. Okay. Oh, and then start the server again. Of course. Okay, so now we've got the thing. And now if I add a new set, it works. Dumbbell curl. If I go manage exercises, oh, yeah, I can't. Let's look in the database then. Did we get our values? So exercises, there should be, gotta refresh it. Yeah, so dumbbell curl should have last used at, right? Yeah. Cool. And if I update one, like if I change this one from interval sprints to planks, then that should also update this for planks, right? Did it actually update it? Yeah, so it's planks now. Oh, it might have actually updated it for the old value. Let's take a look at this implementation again. For update, where is that? Here. Oh, I had this commented out still. Whoops. Okay, so now if I switch this to bad, then that should get a date on it. Yes. Okay. Sweet. Cool. So that's working now. I'm going to add these and make sure I didn't have any weird logging or comments. Yep, seems fine. Okay. Now we need to actually use this thing in our sets or our manage exercises page, I mean. So how does that work? Let's look at the manage exercises page. It's using this sort exercises key. So we need to re-enable this key, this button here. And then we also are going to need to enable this case. And it's going to be a lot like this other case, but it's going to use last used at minus a dot last used at. And I don't know exactly how this is going to handle nulls. So let's kind of see what it does. Hopefully it sorts the things with null at the bottom. So if I do sort by recently used, it's sorting it kind of in reverse of what I would want, right? Because bad is newer. No. Dumbbell curl is newer. So it is sorting it fine. It's just with the nulls at the top. So what I could do is like, I wonder if this is going to be useful. Recently used. So let's say a dot last used at is a value, and b dot last used at is null, which is going to be 0. So it's going to be 0 minus some value, which is going to be negative, which should be indicating that a should go first. Right? So why isn't it going first? Do I need to parenthesize these? Let's see. If I do... Let me just double check the docs were too sorted as well. Twitch streaming developers love exercise apps. Everyone's building these over the years. That's very amusing to me. I actually have never watched another Twitch streamer developer, although I do watch some developers on YouTube. So there must be like some kind of vibes flowing through the air that cause people to condense on the same solution. I mean, for me, I picked an exercise app partly because it's a pretty well understood scope. You know, it's not like trying to build something that's never been built before, because the whole point of this is basically just like as a hobby or to kind of show my process for people who are curious. So I deliberately picked something kind of simple, but at the same time, you know, I do also plan on personally using it myself. One of the nice things about an exercise app is that it encourages like a mobile friendly design. Like it's an app that you want to work on your phone as well. So that's kind of a nice design constraint. But yeah, that's funny. See sort for compare function. So negative value indicates that A should come before B. Yeah. What if I switch these around just out of curiosity? It's like nothing happened there. I'm kind of expecting to see these dumbbell curls and bads like switch ordering or something. Like right now we have dumbbell curl bad. If I switch it back around, then we have still just dumbbell curl bad. So it's not, let's see if I do like console.log exercises. Do we actually have these values in here that we're trying to key based on? What's going on there? Oh, my client-side bundler is complaining. Wait, does that mean that those changes weren't even taking effect? I don't know, but let's see if we have the values here at least. So like if I guess under the target, if we look at bad, it has a last used at. Oh, but it is a string. It's not a number. So I would have to do something kind of more like new date a dot last used at minus new date b dot last used at, sort of thing, right? But what if they're, let's just see. Okay, so now that's like that. If I switch this from A to B, it should be like bad on top of, okay, so now it totally flipped it around. So I think what I want to do is something like I have to do a ternary here maybe. A dot last used at, new date, A dot last used at, otherwise 0. In theory, the lowest possible date, the earliest date. And then I'm just going to copy this, I guess, here and put it over here. B dot last used at, B dot last used at. Okay. So now, recently used. Still putting all of those on the top. Why? I mean, if we do want to do it reverse chronological, it should be like this, similar to the updated, where B is first. Oh, and these have to change too. B, A. But I'm trying to figure out what to do with the nulls. Okay, so now we have dumbbell curl first. That's how it should be. And then bad. I guess that's how it should be. And then the rest of them. And the order for the rest of them doesn't really matter. But if I go over here and do interval sprints, and then go back over here, that's there. Why is it there? Why is it there? Oh, because it's set to the same time. Yeah. It's exactly the thing I was talking about. I was saying hopefully users don't run into it. And then I ran into it where it's like dumbbell curl should have been moved down the list. Oh well. Seems all right for now. It's one of my policies to avoid getting too stuck on trying to make things perfect, you know, just going to continue to iterate on different parts of the app and bring up the standard overall over time. Okay, so recently used, add sort by recently used for exercises. Okay, so that's that. And I can check this off now. I also did this, improve. I can check that off too. That was last stream. So one thing we could do a little bit maybe is, let's see, quick time check. Okay, plenty of time. We could do a landing page a little bit, partly because I've been thinking about that. So let's sign out here. This is the current landing page for the app. When I talk about like a landing page or a home page, it's like this page that you show to users that are not logged in. You know, non-logged in users, they can see the manual, so they can read this, but those are the only two pages they can actually see. So when I was thinking about this, I was like, what do I want this to look like? And I actually made a sketch, and then I took a picture of it, and so I could show you on stream. A lot of times when I'm trying to visualize something, this is how I'll just like do a simple sketch of the UI before actually building it. And doesn't go over well with streaming though. It works a lot better when you're collaborating in person with other people. But anyway, this is kind of the idea. So there would be like, this box here is a screenshot. And I kind of want to do the same thing I did with my Dust app previously, where I sort of use like a 3D looking screenshot, you know, where it's transformed a little bit to make it look more like a floating object, like a card. But then the name of the app below that, and then some text, and then a sign in button. Really simple. And, you know, it's actually really similar to like if I go dust.luketurner.org. This is another one of my just like little apps. This one is a to-do list app, which is really, you know, talking about something that a lot of people build. To-do list app is pretty high on the list. But this app does have some pretty interesting features that I've never seen in a to-do list app before. But anyway, so this one actually has a title, you know, and then here I have a quote. I like this, but I'm not going to copy that into my new app. It's like a daily quote, so it changes each day. And then there's like, this is kind of like the angled screenshot thing. And then there's a login with GitHub. So we're rearranging some of the elements, but we've got kind of similar elements here where there's, you know, title, screenshot, some text, and then a login button. Okay. So let's do that then. So we'll be looking at the index page. And let's start by getting rid of everything. And then we can think. So we're going to want a 2-column layout. And we're going to use Bulma for that. So let's Bulma. I think probably just like actual columns here. Let's see, basics. So we need columns and then column. I'll do that. That's pretty simple. Dot columns, dot column, dot column. So this one is going to have screenshot. So and then it's going to have the title. And one of the characteristics of the title specifically is it's 3 words. I want them each to be on their own line so that the SET becomes like an acrostic. You know what's crazy now? You can upload that wireframe sketch picture to something like Versal's V0 and it will one-shot it. Yeah, that is pretty crazy. I haven't actually used any of those like true, you know, zero to hero type AI tools yet. In fact, I haven't used a lot of AI tools in general. I have explored using a lot of them, but they don't really improve my process at the moment. This is like memory lane for you, SSR, Bulma, Pug, etc. Not used any of that for like a decade. Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm the same way. And actually, it's been so long since I used Pug that now that I've like come back to it, I'm kind of, I regret it. Okay. It's not like modern, you know, it doesn't have, like it's got these mix-ins that you can use to make reusable chunks of template, but it's very limited in what you can do. You know, it's not really like a composable templating language in the same way that something like React is. Like I'm kind of spoiled by React at this point. Where now I'm like, this just feels like going back to like writing Ansible playbooks for the internet or something. It's just not, it's not the right tool for the job anymore if you're building a complex web app. But I do like the server-side rendering aspect of it though. And I like Express a lot. So, but like that other app that I showed earlier, Dust, like that's actually built with Next.js, so very different stack. And I liked that a lot too. So, you know, not too picky. But yeah, I do think that Pug is, it's not something I would recommend. Have I worked with Laravel and its templating engine before? I might like it. I have not. That's a PHP framework, right? Laravel. I've never had the pleasure of doing anything with PHP. Text goes here. And then here we would have like each one simple, and then line break, exercise, line break, tracker, right? Yeah. Obviously it doesn't look right yet, but we've got the breaks in. It's SSR templating for the modern day, especially paired with their tech called Inertia. Inertia, is that kind of like the Laravel version of Livewire? Where it's like got like a WebSocket connection to the client or something and pushing events back and forth? Or is it something else? You used to be a PHP dev, but then you switched to Node and never looked back. But still think Laravel has some of the best stuff. Yeah, I mean, I've heard really good things about some of these PHP frameworks as well. I've never gotten into it too much, but I'm a fan of a batteries included framework, especially for side projects and stuff. It's like sometimes you just want something that's just going to work. Maybe partly because I originally started programming with Ruby, so it's like Ruby on Rails was one of my first web development experiences, actually. Kind of anchored on it, maybe. Yeah, it magically wires up all the JS for you, but with PHP. Wow. I mean, if it works, it works. Usually when things are a little magic or really magic, I start to get concerned. But at the same time, it's like, especially if it's like a robust, you know, if it's like magic and it's in like version 0.12 or something, it's like probably not going to work for every edge case. But if it's magic and it's version like 7.4.3, you know, and it's been in production or production ready for years, you know, it's like a lot of times those edge cases have been ironed off and you can actually like use the magic. Anyway, that's my rule of thumb. I'm sure with Laravel, like that's obviously the framework's old. I don't know about that feature, I guess, but yeah. Laravel officially recommends it. That's good. That's really cool. I use Livewire, which is like an Elixir, the programming language. There's like a framework for that called Phoenix, and then it's got like a similar thing where you can basically wire up your front end. I think you write the front end in Elixir too, if I recall. And it does like WebSocket event passing and stuff because Elixir is like an event-based system to begin with, or, you know, actor-based. But it had rough edges. It wasn't done yet. So it wasn't the best option if you're trying to build like something complicated. Also, like the nice thing about React is it's just, there's so many frameworks and, you know, CSS frameworks and libraries and different types of like interactivity, like drag and drop and everything. It's like there's good React libraries for all of that, like routing, client-side routing. But as soon as you go to another ecosystem, it's like you have to re-implement a lot of that stuff, unless it's another, you know, if you switch to Vue, it's like, okay, there's still plenty of stuff. But if you switch to, Elix or Livewire, which is still in a beta version, it's like you're going to have to build your libraries yourself. Anyway, okay, so this would be like .title. And, I don't want it to look like that though, but we can worry about that later. There's going to be like an image here. And, I might just do like a div style width 300 pix, height 300 pix. And like border 1 pix dotted red, whatever. So that's like where the screenshot would go. And, I would probably do, I don't know if Bulma has like a specific thing for images. There is. Yeah, a container so your layout isn't broken. That would be nice. Yeah, let's just try this. So figure, be like figure dot image dot is, I mean, size wise, 7 dimensions to pick from. I mean, let's just do is square. It's not that small. It's not going to be 150 pixels or less. And then inside here, we would have image. The heck? I don't know. Anyway, and then under there would just be the image. Looks like you don't need any classes on that. And, this would be like, might as well put this actually in there. So just slash, could do like slash screenshot .png, sure. And then I might say like width equals 300. Height equals 300. Yes. Yes. Is that not, I thought you could do that with width and height. Let's see. So this says it's for the parent element to already have a specific width. Not sure if that is true for a column or not, but whatever. Let's just put a width on here. Width or style. Let's actually just not for now. And let's get rid of this width and height. There's no point trying to figure that out until we actually get the screenshot in there. But one of the things is like these columns need to be different widths. If we look back here, it's like the one on the left should be a lot narrower than the one on the right, right? So if we go back over here to columns, sizes. So probably one is going to be 1/3. column dot is 1/3. See what that looks like. Yeah, that seems pretty good. Actually, we're thinking of Livewire, but inertia is still good too. Yeah. I think there's a few other different things in that mode as well. Like I think Ruby on Rails added like something they call like turbo wire or hot wire or I don't know. Yeah. But I think Livewire was kind of the inventor of the concept of that type of, I don't know, WebSocket integration. Okay, so now we have this other column. So here we would put some text, and I might just write that now. I do also want to add the typography. Like, I think there's a component for text. Yeah, content. Let's just do that. If I do like .column.content, it's going to make the formatting a little better. So let's see. Simple. Set is an open source web app for tracking exercise data over time. Or let's say for recording exercises and tracking their data over time. Sure. You create your own exercises and assign parameters to them, like weight, reps, etc. Sure. Definitely not the ideal wording, but that's fine. We can work on it. So underneath here, let's actually do, usually when I'm doing paragraphs, like writing paragraphs like this in HTML, I like to do like one line per sentence, because ultimately how you line break it doesn't really matter for the actual HTML. You can also use some kind of like word breaking tool that automatically formats it, but I like one line per sentence. Okay, let's do a unordered list. I'm going to do like a list of kind of features here. So let's actually make that part of this a feature. Create your own exercises with a variety of parameters. Weight, assisted weight, reps, duration, distance, and intensity. Let's see, I'll do a sign in with GitHub at the top here. Sign in with GitHub account. Let's just see how this looks so far. Mobile friendly interface. What else? I don't know. Can worry about the feature list later. Just have something. And then below that, I'm going to have another thing where it's the actual, let's actually put this content under there like that. And then going to have another thing that's the button. So it would be like, let's look at our layout and see how we did the sign in button. Sign in with GitHub. It's going to be something like this. Except button.button. Let's just see. Okay, so that gives us the button there. We want it to be using the primary color. Is primary, probably. And then that, we probably want that to be centered as well. Right? So how would we center it? I wonder, is this one of those things where I could just do like a margin equals auto kind of situation? Style, margin, auto. No, it's not. What is the layout of the actual column? Column display block. So it's a block, but it's inside a flex. Makes sense. And then this button, what if I did display block on that too? Okay, so that does work. I just need the, I'm just gonna put it right in the HTML here, or the pug, as it were. Instead of making a class, don't think I really need a class for this. I think there's a way to get Bun to watch your pug files to trigger a reload. It does that already, I think. Yeah. Or like, I think it kind of watches every file in your whole project. But like if I were to get rid of this display block, save that. Oh no, I see. It's only the JavaScript. Interesting. Yeah, that would be kind of nice. Like for Bun right now, I'm using Bun just watch. There might be like a way to parameterize that. Bun run just, sure. Or maybe like something in the bunfig.json or whatever. I don't know. Bunfig.toml. Okay, I don't know. I'm not too worried about it though. Oh, Bulma has a bunch of utility classes, so margin auto can also be set as MX auto. I see. That's a good point. Oops. MX auto. Cool. I wonder if they have one for display block. That might be a little too specific. I mean, there might be something where it's just like is block, I guess. I don't know. I think an actual block in Bulma is like a specific thing though, right? Like it's not this kind of block. Although I do actually want to use these for spacing. Like if I make this a block and this a block, get some spacing there. They do, it's called is block. It's in the visibility category. Oh, nice. Okay, sweet. Then we can get rid of the style altogether. auto.isBlock. Sweet. Okay. So the other thing is I kind of want this to be a little narrower. So I think back to the Bulma business. You can probably tell this is one of my, well, I wouldn't say it's my absolute first time using Bulma, but I definitely am having to check the docs a lot with it. Partly because you don't have like autocomplete or anything in VS Code. That would help quite a bit if I had like autocomplete on the classes, but yeah. So what I want here is a narrower container. I don't know if this is a good idea to have one container inside another container or not. But yeah, I want it smaller like that. And then, you know, if I were to, yeah, like it's working fine with the resizing. You can see the nav bar kind of resizing on top in steps. That's the outer container. And then, yeah, it turns into that. It's pretty nice. I mean, okay, so that image is a little big. I'll have to deal with that. Let's see. So if I did like a max width on the image, maybe is that another thing that Bulma has things for? Max width? I don't know if it has width. There is a Bulma CSS class completion extension for VS Code, but you're not sure how good it is. Yeah, interesting. I mean, the thing is, like, even if that was a thing, like, I wonder how well it would work with Pug, you know? It does say change the size. Wait, what is this even talking about? I feel like that text is like unrelated to the actual page I'm looking at here. Well, whatever. Let's just do it here. Gonna do the same kind of thing. Style. And when we actually start doing the transforming of this image to rotate the shape, like that affects it as well. Max width. 300 pixels. What if I do that? Yeah, so now that's proper. And I could also do that same MX Auto. This should already be a block, right? Yeah. Okay, so that looks fine like that. This part, I mean, I still want it to be in one line, you know? So that's something we might have to think about, but it's not terrible. Oh, you want to try out Daisy UI soon? Yeah, Daisy UI. I've used that before. Oh, it's Tailwind CSS components. Yeah. Yeah, this is actually what I used in my the project that I did with Livewire and Elixir. I used Daisy UI for that, if I recall. But I've kind of, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Tailwind just kind of adds a lot of overhead to set up and stuff. Like I frequently have, unless I'm using a pre-built like project template thing where it's like already comes with all the bells and whistles. Like if I'm trying to set it up from scratch, I've had some problems with getting Tailwind to like actually work. Like sometimes it seems like there's some of the declarations, but like not all of them. I don't know, but I have used it before. it does seem like a pretty nice UX, like once it's actually set up as well. And I've heard that the version 4 of Tailwind is a little better too. It doesn't require like a build step anymore or something. Doesn't use JavaScript anymore, something like that. Anyway, yes. So now we kind of need the screenshot. Now, let's just do it. I'm just going to take a screenshot. Let's kind of make it look a little bit 10 reps, and let's switch this to pounds because that is the default. What happened there? That was weird. Does that always happen? What if I switch it back to kilograms? Huh. I don't know. That was weird. For some reason, this didn't render properly when I clicked back to it, I feel like. But that's okay. Let's say 25 pounds, 10 reps. Interval sprints. Let's actually get rid of that one, and we could do, well, whatever. We could do interval sprints. Do 5 interval sprints, 0.1 miles. I don't know. It's kind of weird to measure interval sprints in terms of distance. Usually that would be more like duration. Maybe I should fix that. Duration and intensity. That's kind of, we can show off the intensity feature as well. So like 5 reps, minutes, 0.5 minutes, high, sure. And then we could add planks. 0.25 minutes. Kind of weird. I mean, I sort of wish you could configure seconds for this. That's a feature that I haven't added yet. But I just sort of want to get a screenshot out there before we get too much into like perfecting everything. Like it's not going to be perfect when I take the screenshot, and that's okay. I can always just take a new one. Kind of want to get it at a level that sort of looks pretty good. I mean, that looks a little bit odd. I feel like this, and then it should be square. That's square? I guess that's square. I don't know. My mind does not make that look square. But then I think we can, there's a way to take a screenshot from here, right? I know there is. Where is it? Hmm. I don't know. Let's search. Chrome, take screenshot. Using developer tools. Type screenshot in the command menu. Open the command menu by pressing Control-Shift-P. Really? Control-Shift-P? What the heck? Screenshot. Capture full-size screenshot. Or just screenshot, right? Okay, so what happened with that? it downloaded it. Let me, on my other monitor here, I'm going to pull that from my downloads. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like what I want here. So let's copy that into my app folder. I'll put it into public, I guess. Okay, so now if I look at that in VS Code, I should be able to see that screenshot here. Yeah, okay. And I will just rename this to screenshot.png. And then that's what this is linking to already. So that should now, let's switch this back to what we had it before, iPad or Pixel 7, and turn it off. Sign out. Yeah, okay, so now we actually have the screenshot there, which is cool. It does look, let's switch to light mode. So, oh, I forgot. Okay. Right. Let's sign back in again. Do I have if I switch it back to responsive, yeah. I'm going to switch it to light mode now. And I'm going to take a screenshot of that too. So Control Shift P, screenshot, capture screenshot. Okay. Going to do the same thing here. Downloads. Copy that thing. Exercise tracker, public, paste. Okay, sweet. Got a spammer in chat. Just need to ban that person. One moment. Cool. Okay. So now I should have screenshots for both modes. I kind of want to switch between them and be fancy like that. Screenshot light. And we'll call this one screenshot dark. Kind of as a fun note, I mean, I don't know if you'll find it fun, but I thought it was fun. In the Dust app that I built here, the screenshot that I used for this homepage isn't actually a screenshot at all. This is actually a rendered window of the app. So like you can see how it's responding to my mouse hovering over it, and like you can, the fields are disabled, but it's like you can actually click on the links. And so like if this were switched to light mode, if the app, like I guess if I were to, how do I do that in Chrome? New tab, customize, light, and then see how the screenshot like automatically switched to light mode because it's actually just rendering the app. It's not a static screenshot. Thought that was kind of cool. The other cool thing about that is like as I add features to the app or like update the UI, I don't have to take a new screenshot. It's like automatically updating. Okay. In any case, I'm not going to do that for this one, but I do want to have it be able to switch between dark and light. And so what's the best way to do that? So over here, we would do something like x bind on the source. X bind source equals theme. We could actually do it like this. Screenshot. Maybe we could even do it like this. Screenshot underscore theme.png. And I think that theme is already exposed in like a setting. So yeah, so now we get the light mode screenshot. And if I switch to dark, which with this app, I actually have a button, switch to dark, switches to dark. Very cool. Now I kind of, we need to, I mean, we don't need to, but I kind of want to tilt it sort of like this. And you'll also notice, like in this case, it has that white border. We'll probably want to do something kind of similar over here as well. Like if I were to put a border on here, I don't think Bulma has something for that, does it? Or does it? There's text color, background color. No border color though. Okay. Let's do it here. Style, border, color, and here we could use like a Bulma variable. We probably want it to be like the same thing as this. So like this is Bulma title color. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Actually, kind of. Var Bulma title color, sure. Because I do want it to match with the title down there. Okay, so what's going on here now? Oh, it's not defined. Okay, I've got to use a more standard one. I don't really remember. Let's see. Let's look at the Bulma docs, actually. It's always hard for me to remember all of these CSS variables and stuff. Where's that? Here it is. Okay, so like Bulma title color. I mean, it says it's a thing. Maybe I have to actually put it in a CSS file. Let's see. I don't really know a whole lot about CSS variables. I just sort of use them. And, mostly it works, basically. Order. And, we could do like one pix solid. That. Let's see what that is like. And then if we go over here, we could just add that dot screenshot. Let's see what that does. Which fonts are you using, by the way? I'm using the default Bulma fonts. So like this, for example, is like the default. Well, I don't know exactly how to see where it's coming from, but it's the default Bulma fonts here. So nothing too special. I'm not actually a huge fan of them though. I kind of prefer, I don't know. I mean, it's not bad, I guess, but the title is just like a little bit too kind of rounded, a little bit too humanist or something. Like with the Dust app, I'm using a lot more, light kind of streamlined font. Obviously, it's a lighter weight as well, but it's just not quite as rounded. It's a little simpler. I don't know. I'm not a big font guy. I also don't really like adding custom fonts because I have in my head that it's like an additional thing the user has to download. And it's like, is it worth it or not? But yeah, so usually I just kind of stick with standard fonts. So why is this, what is going on here? What have I done wrong? So class screenshot. It's just not getting the, Hmm. See, it's weird because like I'm using these other ones, so why is that Bulma title color just not working? It's even included in the docs here. Hmm. Okay, let's see. Show all properties. Is there something in here? Oh, well, there's a lot of things. So many things, but the title is not one of them. Let's see. Is there maybe a better way to look at this stuff? If I look at the sources? Not really. Bulma. Title. Color. Yeah, okay, so that's actually defining it there. So maybe that's why. If I do Bulma text strong instead. Okay, that works. And if I switch it to dark mode, it's going to turn black. Yeah, okay. So we got our border there. I might actually do 2 pixels. Okay, that 2 pixels a bit much. Let's just do 1 pixel. Okay. So now let's try to put a bit of a transform on this thing. So I might just like look at this one to start with here. Actually, probably the best way, I'm just going to look at the source code. This is also an open source project, so, we can just take a look at that. This app also uses Prisma, by the way, on the topic of Prisma, which we mentioned earlier. I try to use different libraries and stuff when I'm building different apps, just like to gain experience with them and, compare and contrast. So like for this Dust app, I used Prisma. For the one that I'm doing now, I'm using Drizzle for my TypeScript native ORM instead of Prisma. And I do kind of like the fact that Drizzle doesn't need like a separate config file for the schema, but I actually like the Prisma user experience a little more. I've had some kind of weird issues with Drizzle where I feel like Prisma was like pretty rock solid and easy to use. But anyway, so if we look at components here, I don't really know exactly where I put the. Is this a tiny agenda page? Oh, so it's using tiny demo page. This is like the, yeah. So here's where the transform I was using is defined. It's kind of complicated because of stuff, but let's just put that in here as well. And I can maybe illustrate that a little bit. Okay, so this is kind of what there's sort of, like, let's say we get rid of this scale here. It's actually not bad. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of small feeling. Like as a user looking at that, you're kind of like, what are you showing me? You know what I mean? There's not a lot. I don't know exactly if that's like. I mean, so the thing is, I want it to be square, right? But there's all of this blank space in there. And the part that you kind of want the user to see is actually sort of small as well. So, I mean, I could just increase the size of the screenshot, but I don't really want to have to do that. So what I could do instead is decrease the resolution of the thing we're taking a screenshot of. Like instead of like this, can I do like a shift drag to make it? Not really. Okay. If we did something more like this, like let's 855 by 855, say. And I kind of don't like that this is like hanging out over there. So if I get rid of the interval sprints one and add like barbell press, it'd be like 5:45. Sure. And let's actually do like 5:3. 90. Doesn't really matter. And then 1:35. Yeah, sure. Okay, let's take a screenshot of that now. Command Shift P, screenshot, capture screenshot, and then switch to light mode and do it again. Command Shift P, screenshot, capture. Then I'm going to move those over again. Why are the lines wavy? You mean like once the image was transformed, there's like those artifacts in the lines? Let's see, what am I looking for? Downloads. These two, copy, code, public, paste. Okay. Yeah. You know, I don't really know what that is. It's an artifact of the browser's CSS transform, you know. It's like it's transforming it and then it's not like sufficiently anti-aliased or something. I'm not really sure myself. I wonder too, like if I were to zoom in, like it looks pretty good zoomed in. It's just kind of, actually looks really good zoomed in. It's just kind of weird when it's sort of small too. Okay, yeah, I'm back at 100%. Okay, right, new screenshots. So let's just delete these, I guess. And this one I will rename screenshot light. And this one I will rename screenshot dark. Okay, so hopefully those look a little bit better now if I refresh. Yeah, a little bit better. I mean, you know, it's still not perfect, but whatever. Close enough. This is basically how I'm picturing the front page looking. It still needs some stuff, but what doesn't? You know, when is anything ever perfect? Okay. So let's say like rework homepage, including app screenshot. And since we've done that, I'm just gonna remove this sketch file so I don't accidentally commit it at some point. Okay, fine. And let's look at this in mobile view too. So if I go to Pixel 7 mode, yeah, looks great, you know. I mean, good enough, right? If I scroll down, switch to dark mode, yeah. Yeah, it does, like there's these weird artifacts in the dark mode especially, it seems like. Hmm. I don't know if there's anything I can really do about that though. Looking online, they suggest using 3D transformations over 2D. Oh. Oh. See, that makes a lot of sense because that's what I'm trying to emulate with a 2D transformation is actually to make it look like it's been, tilted on an axis in 3D space, right? Um, like the top right corner is like tilted back a little bit, but I don't actually know how to do that though. Wait, what did I click on? W3 schools. Get me out of there. Okay. Actually, I've heard W3 schools is better than it was back in the day, but here's a screenshot. Let me see. Is it the same for you? Oh, that's through the stream too? No, it's not that bad for me. No. There must be an encoding issue on the stream as well. Because, yeah, those lines aren't actually wavy. They're just, they're like, they have that like alternating pattern of light and dark. It's like from not being like properly anti-aliased or something. I don't really know, but they don't look as bad as that. That actually looks kind of hilarious though. It's almost like a postage stamp. I do like the idea of a 3D transform though. But I also don't know, like, so I don't want to translate. This is translate 3D. Don't really want that. What I used before is skew. So, where do I have that? Here. Yeah, so what I did before is like I rotated it a little bit to the side, a very little bit, and then I skewed it a very little bit as well. So like if you get rid of the skew, then it just looks, it probably made the waviness even worse with that, but it just looks like ever so slightly rotated to the left, but it's not actually, skewed, I guess, obviously. Um, the skew is like what puts the top right corner back. Anyway, so I wonder if there's a way to, like this does say it skews an element on the 2D plane. I wonder, like I could do rotate 3D to rotate it around a fixed axis in 3D space. Let's just try it. Let's just copy one of these. Obviously, it's not going to have the right values. But like, what does it do? Okay, kind of, I mean, I don't know what it's doing. I guess that's a pretty severe rotation. So x describing the x, y, and z coordinates of the vector denoting the axis of rotation, and then representing the angle of rotation. So, say I did like, so x, y, and z. So say I did like 0 and 0 and 2 degrees. That should just rotate it slightly to the right, right? Let's do 10 degrees. No, it's rotating it like backwards or something. What if I do this? Okay, so that's rotating it like left to right or right to left. So the axis is vertical, straight up and down, which makes sense because y is 1. If y is 1 and x is 1, it's doing that. What if y is 1 and z is 1? Because I feel like I want to rotate it a little bit on the z-axis, and then like mostly on the x-axis or the y-axis. What if I do like 5, 0, 1? Okay. What if I do negative 10 degrees? If I do negative, what if I do 5, 0, 3? Having trouble visualizing what it's doing. What if I do 5, 0, 10? So that's just like rotating it more and more to the left. Huh. So what if I did 2 rotations? Oh, you're sending me a code pen. The border issue is fixed with that method for me on my side. Now I see a dashed border. Let's see. Yeah, give it a go. Oh, okay, so this is interesting. I didn't know about that, first of all. Yeah, this looks, okay, let's, I'm going to try copying this and see what's what with that. This looks, the border on this, for what it's worth, looks really similar to what the other border looks like in my stream. So I don't think it's going to be changing that really, but, oh, the message wasn't when you first applied the 3D transform. You now see a dashed border. It's interesting. What does this transform style thing do? Defines how nested elements are rendered in 3D space. Okay, let me try something here. Okay, so it just looks kind of weird. If I remove that, it looks the same. What am I missing here? Does it need these other fields too to actually, like, I feel like mine is not looking the same way as yours. It doesn't have the perspective, you know what I mean? Okay, now it's off to the side. Not sure what's up with that. Oh, it must be the margin left. Yeah, it's not really working. I wonder what's up with that. What are the styles in the parent figure element? That's a good question. Because part of the parent figure element is supposed to be maintaining an aspect ratio, so maybe it's doing something. That was funny. I don't know if the aspect ratio would be doing it. What if I put the screenshot class on the figure? I don't think that'll work. I have to put it here. Still the same thing, basically. Weird. That is weird. I really like the 3D look. How do I get that? I'm not sure. I might just switch back to this for now, though. Instead of spending too much time on it. It does seem to work. But man, it would be nice to get that 3D. What if I do like transform? It was transform style, right? That was the, yeah. Preserve 3D. Hmm. Hmm. Scroll to the top of the CS. Oh. Oh. Okay. Interesting. There's a perspective CSS rule that you use. That is really cool. That is really cool. Okay. And I have to apply that to a parent. Is that it? I can't apply that here. Let's re-add this. Get rid of this. Yeah, let's put it on the parent. Which is, let's just put it in here. Perspective 1000 pixels. I guess probably that's like just a magnitude. Oh yeah, look at that. That is so cool. Okay. So it's probably a bit too much perspective though. Can I just like reduce that number? Oh no, that makes it even worse. Oh, it must be like how far away it is. The point of perspective, something like that, right? Whatever they call it. The vanishing point. I don't know. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I mean, it should be, yeah. So like this level of vanishing feels pretty good, or maybe even the 1000 like you had. It feels pretty good. I think we just need less rotation. Um, so like if I rotate Y 10 degrees, let's do 20 degrees. Kind of want it to be a little obvious. And then I also want to rotate Z question mark. I wanted to like tilt backwards. No, not that. X. I guess X is okay. Oh, that makes sense because it's like this line, right? And we're like tilting it back from that line. Okay, I mean, that looks kind of like what I'm picturing. It is, I don't need that strong of an effect though. Maybe 15 on this one. What if I do 20 on this one? You know, it works. That works. It didn't fix the border issue. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It's still got the anti-aliasing issue on my screen as well. I mean, I'm just calling it that. I don't really know what it actually is. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a good way to fix that. The only thing I could think of is if there is some way of like hinting Chrome to like, I don't know what, use subpixel aliasing or something, but I mean, it should already be doing the best it can with that kind of thing. So, oops, don't want to increase that. I want to increase this. Yeah, pretty cool though. Just give it a little bit of visual interest. Okay. I also like that it's actually rotating in a 3D space instead of like pretending to. It's very neat. And if I switch to light mode, looks good there too. Quick time check. How are we doing? Getting close to 2 hours here. Usually I wrap up after 2 hours. Or a little more. I might have time for another small feature of some kind. Let's, and so if I click this link, that works, right? Yeah, it does work. It's not really obvious that it's working, though. Maybe that's something that we could fix. Like, so this is running the sign in command, but it could also set like a loading state. For authentication, by the way, I'm using this like Better Auth library. I don't know if you've heard of that. I actually saw they recently got, did they recently get purchased by something happened? I don't know. There was some news about Better Auth, but that's what I'm using for auth, and it doesn't actually give you like a route to call. It's like go to this route to log your user in. It actually gives you like a JavaScript function to call, which is kind of odd. But so when you click the button, it's actually like calling this here function, and then whatever that does on the background is happening. So it's like while that's happening, we could have a little spinner or something so the user's not like, hey, your app is broken when I just tried to sign in for the first time. And I believe if I look at Bulma buttons, is there a loading state? There should be a loading state, right? Did I miss it? Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. Is loading. So here we could do a quick thing. And, you know, because this is going to redirect them away from the page, like we don't really even need to ever turn that off. So we could just like assign it. So let's do like x bind class equals is loading question mark is loading. And we could have an x data right on the element here. Is loading, I guess it's an object, right? Is loading false. This is using Alpine.js, by the way, for these bindings. And then here we would set like is loading equals true, and then sign in, right? Let's see what that does. Sign out, sign in. Yeah. Cool. I like that. I like that a lot. It's kind of got a weird transition there when you click on it, but whatever. If you click on this one up here, it's not going to do that, though. I wonder if I should put that up on that one as well. So that is over here, sign in with GitHub. I don't know if the is loading thing is actually going to work on this one up here because it's not really a regular button. Yeah, see, it didn't even, that is loading class is not doing anything. Either that or it's not being applied. Let's make sure. Okay, yeah. So it added the class. Oh my God. An unusually high number of requests. Okay, yes, I know. It's me. I did it. Anyway, that's fine because this is kind of the main thing that people are going to be clicking on the first time. You may like HTMX. Also, oh, let's see. I missed a few things here. The only thing that might fix it is to make it in Figma with the skew and then take a screenshot of that to fix the line issue. Yeah, that's a good point. That might help. It's just kind of fun to do it in the browser though, but that's a good point. You're a better auth shill. You recommend it to everyone. I mean, it works, that's when you're using an auth library, it's like if you can install it in your project and it works, that's great. I do feel like I wish that it didn't require me to use client-side JavaScript in order to sign in, but I'm using client-side JavaScript anyway, so whatever. You may like HTMX. Yeah, HTMX. That's I've heard of that before. That's for like replacing parts of your HTML dynamically, right? Yeah. I do like this, but I also feel like for almost any project that I'm working on, it's a bit of a premature optimization usually. Like on this app, for example, like here is a good example. Like when I'm adding a new set, I pick interval sprints. When I click this, it's actually going to pop up like a loading, like a skeleton on the page to take up the space where that set is going to go. And then it's actually going to reload the whole page. So if we watch, that's what it just did. And that, with HTMX, you could be like, okay, create this new DOM node based on like this specific little chunk of HTML that you get from the backend, right? So I could like implement that better probably where it doesn't have to reload the whole page. But I don't really mind reloading the whole page. It's not an ideal user experience though. But either way, there would still be that loading step part. So anyway, it's something to look into though. It would make a lot of sense for this app in particular because of the, limited, like I'm not using React or anything for the front end. It's just like this kind of low JavaScript, but also lots of interactivity combo would benefit from that. Let me get rid of that because it wasn't doing anything. Better auth. You don't have to use client side. It has a full server side API. The better auth client side functions are just wrapper for the fetch calls. The client side signup, for example, only takes in a few fields like name, email, password, etc. And you need to, if you want them to fill out more fields, you need to bypass that anyway. And on the back end, you can sign them up, but additionally store the extra data in the database in one transaction. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I'm sure they must. Because it's kind of obvious. Like when I do sign in, there's a JavaScript function, but then it's like calling a route, right? It's doing something with the backend. But I didn't see any documentation for what those backend APIs were. So I was like, I could like reverse engineer this JavaScript code to understand that, or I could just not do that. But I'm curious if that's like an official part of their API to like call the backend directly. Imagine you wanted to store their home address. Client-side signup function won't accept it. So you need to do the drizzle call separately to store their address. Yeah, we have kind of similar things with, I've got a couple bonus fields on the user table. Like preferred units, I guess is kind of the main one where I forget how I set that. I think it's okay not being set to begin with. So kind of dodges the issue, but I definitely get what you're getting at. Yeah. It would be, yeah. It wouldn't be bad to replace this with calling the backend directly, but it does work for me fine for now. And I've added plenty of JavaScript since. That was like the first piece of JavaScript I added in the app. So I had to like, I was like, wait a minute, I have to like set up like a client-side code bundler and everything just to like actually import this function from the better auth JavaScript library. But now that that's all set up, I'm just going to keep using it. Here's a link. Let's see. Copy the link. Oh. Server side. Right, but this is like getting the usage, getting the existing session server side. But is there like a login flow through this API? I don't know. maybe there is. Yes. So let's see. What did I change? I fixed that. Let's just put that into the same commit, rework the home page. And let's look at our notes. So we can check off clean up landing page. Check. This one, replace exercise selector with combo box. You know, I don't actually know if I want to do that. I was thinking about this before the stream. Every client-side API has a server-side equivalent API you can call. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I would just need to like create my own route and then call that server-side sign-in function or whatever from that route when it's hit from the client. Like, so this is what I was talking about with the combo box, where it's like here, this is a native select, right? But if you had a ton of exercises, it could be a bit annoying. I don't, and this is the same way here. The problem is if I do replace it with a combo box, that could be a worse experience for mobile clients, is my biggest concern there. Like if I'm in the mobile view, you know, here in Chrome, responsive view, it's like it looks weird, right? But if I were on my phone and I click this, it would actually pop up that like, at least on Android, like Android native select wizard chooser thing. Like a modal dialog to select a value. So I don't want to lose that by switching to a combo box where this would be implemented with JavaScript and it would not work as well on mobile. So I might just leave it as is, but I do want to sort these values at the very least. There is a server-side sign-in, but you can't escape not having a client-side component. You would have to recreate exactly what the client-side function does, a fetch call to the sign-in endpoint. Oh, okay. So you can't just make it a link. You have to use an actual fetch call. And you need something to send to the request, to send the request to the sign-in endpoint and get the cookies, etc. You could either do that manually with fetch, or you could use the built-in one to do it for you. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So like I could write a little JavaScript to do that with the fetch instead of having to like import the actual better auth thing if I didn't want to have the bundling built, you know. I wouldn't need to import this. That would be nice. But yeah. Right, the combo box. So let's actually sort these, and then I'll probably wrap up after that. So on the exercise, the today page, so these combo boxes, they're using exercises as the list of values that you can choose from. And the same thing down here, right? Yeah. So basically, I just want this exercises to be sorted. And I could, it doesn't really matter if I sort it like here in the UI layer or what. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and sort them in the controller method. So I think that's sets. And then today page, yeah, this page here. So we've got our list of exercises. Get exercises for you. Maybe I'll just sort it right here. Wait, what? Okay, yeah. Oh, it's up here. Okay. Yeah. So I could do like dot order by, and then do I do like ascending? Would it be ascending or descending? So sort by name, ascending. Lower ones first, right? I wonder if that's going to work. Exercises table dot name. And then I need to add that here. Right? So now if I click on this, yeah, it does work. And these as well. Yeah, okay. Just makes it a little bit more readable. I also like, kind of as a side note, like if I'm writing these database functions where it's getting a list, I do think there's something to be said for like always defining an order by. So there's like an explicit order for that instead of being sort of just like an undefined whatever the database decides. Having it be the name though, like alphabetical order is maybe a little odd. Normally it would be maybe ordered by that something else, but whatever. You do not recommend implementing your own fetch for it. There's a bunch of nice features. Yeah, that makes sense. Ask stakeholders and product team if we really need to sort. No? Boom, close the ticket. Yeah, make sure to tell them that there's never going to be more than 10 values in the list to begin with. So do we really need sorting? Good question. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it here. Trying to decide if I want to do another little feature. Can be hard to stop. Let's say fix ordering of exercises in Flex. Let's just look here and see if there's anything else. So I'm actually going to check this off because sorted instead. See, I don't really have a whole lot else that I can actually do quickly is the problem. That I guess I can check off too. The unfurl metadata I could maybe do, but I don't really want to look up those specs at the moment. I don't even remember what they're called. Durations other than minutes, I definitely want to do, but I don't have time for that today. Create page for viewing multiple days data at once. This one I really want to do too, but again, I don't really have time for that today. Okay, let's just wrap up, I think. Let's see, a couple more messages here. If you think outside the box a little, there's a way to overcome the sorting issue. Use a magic dropdown where it lets the user type search what they want at the same time. Yes. And like that's what I call like a combo box. At least I've heard it called that, where it's like both a select and a text input. It's like a combo. Anyway. But the problem with that is kind of like I mentioned, like if I switch it from being a select, then we're not going to get the native select handling behavior on mobile clients, which I kind of don't want to lose. I think those combo boxes usually are implemented with like a text input element and then like a JavaScript pop-up below that simulates the dropdown. But on the mobile client, you don't really want that simulated dropdown. I don't know. But it would be good. And if I was using like a React library, like Blueprint or something where you could just like pop one in there really easily, I would probably do that. But considering that the UX is a mixed blessing to change that, And it also would be quite a bit of work to actually implement a combo box, or need to pull in another third-party library for that. So I kind of just figure it's not worth it at the moment. Just open the ShadCN combo box on your iPhone. It works flawlessly. Interesting. You know, I appreciate this kind of navigation that you're doing. Let's see. So ShadCN, a little bit familiar with this. Basically, it's like a scaffolding framework for these components, right? Where it's like you can sort of add the code for the component to your app, but then you can sort of manage it yourself in your own code base. Yeah, something like this would be nice. I mean, it would be nice. The problem is, I mean, obviously this particular example comes with a lot of overhead that we don't have, but if there was something similar that was like a vanilla JavaScript library that you could just pull in and use, I would probably pull it in. Heck, I mean, it can even be a jQuery plugin, you know. I'll pull in jQuery if I have to in order to pull this other thing in. We're going back to the true old school stuff. But because we're not using React, it's like a lot of those React type things don't work so hot. I wonder if Bulma has, like there's this, you know, you could implement something with this, but it would be kind of a pain. Anyway, I'm fine with it as it is for now. I do think that people are probably going to have a few exercises, but not like so many that it would be a big problem. And it should still support, like, you know, if I click on this, like if I focus it and start typing, like if I type a C, it takes me there. You know, if I start typing like plank, it selects that. I don't know. It actually works pretty well. It just doesn't show you the text that you're typing. Ooh, React. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about ShadCN is it's like the framework itself has almost no boilerplate, right? Because it's not actually like a framework. It's just like putting the component in your own code. So you only get like exactly the components you need. But the part that's overhead for me with ShadCN is like basically just the learning curve, incorporating it into my app. I actually tried to use this before and ran into some problems because I was doing like a manual installation and then like trying to compile, I don't know, trying to do like the client side code bundling using like the bun bundler, which does have a Tailwind plugin. And I was like, this should all work, right? But it didn't really work. And I don't really know why, but anyway, but I am curious about ShadCN UI. There's the other really nice thing about this framework is it has like a ton of components, is something I noticed, and they're really high quality looking components too. So pretty neat, but yeah, unfortunately can't use it for this project. Have you tried Mantine? Yeah, actually, Mantine. This is actually, we use this at work. This is like our new standard component library at work. It is also React too, yeah. I mean, everything is, it's, you know, if it's got JavaScript interactivity, it's like almost always going to be React. If it's not React, it's almost always going to be pure CSS. I mean, not as a guaranteed rule, but you know, yeah. And I do like React, you know. That's, if I was ever building like an actual complicated app that I wasn't just doing as a hobby, it's like I would definitely use React. But yeah. Yeah, this is what we actually use at work. I haven't done much with it yet though, but it seems like it supports a lot of stuff as well. There's like a ton of components for Mantine too. And it's very themable and stuff, but it kind of has its own weird way of doing styles as well. Like it's got its own almost like unique little Tailwind alternative. which is fine, you know. Got to solve that problem somehow, right? But yeah, it's another thing to learn. You love React. Recently saw some Svelte code being written. You might have to try it. It's damn near one-to-one to vanilla HTML, CSS, JS. Yeah, interesting. I haven't done much with Svelte. I mean, I've heard about Svelte, but I've never done much with it. I hear they changed their syntax a lot too. Like when I first learned about it, it was a totally different syntax from what it is now, if I recall. But yeah, you know, if I was to pick an alternative, like I really like solid.js. Because I like JSX, so I like that this uses JSX, but it also has like a different, arguably easier to understand model for when things re-render and stuff using, you know, its reactive UI with like signals. So I like solid.js a lot too, but it's not different enough from React to be worth picking up and to lose compatibility with all of the React libraries out there. So I just do React. Signals are awesome. You just use them with React. Genius move. Yeah, I like signals a lot too. Usually for React, I use this thing, which isn't really signal, but it's a different way of doing state management using immer.js, where it's like immutable state objects. And then instead of doing a setter where you just like replace the object, it's like uses an updater function. And then it like, well, the thing with immer is it's like, it says like, oh, you know, in this case, it's like you're updating this todo.id in the array. It's switching this flag on it. So it's just going to replace that object with a new object, but not like actually touch any of the other objects in the array. You tend to reach for Zustand when React context isn't enough. Okay. That's one I've never heard of in my life. So let's see that. Zustand. And I actually was thinking about this problem the other day. So I might even be using this soon if it seems interesting. I'm always curious about new React things. So it's like a store, and then you bind in your components. Okay, so kind of like, well, it's not really the same. But yeah, same kind of problem space as MobX or Redux. I wonder how something like this works with like React SWR. Zustand is an old, tried and trusted data or state management library. You'll often see it in lists next to Redux. Makes sense. And then TanStax. I've heard of this one, but I've never, like, I don't know much about it, I guess. This one sounds interesting as well. Kind of like React SWR. It sounds really similar to that. Oh, and then there's also, maybe you were talking about this actually, store. Yeah, maybe I'll take a look at this. I like using different dependencies in the same place too, because they're more likely to work together, presumably. But there's also kind of sometimes a problem when you're using too many dependencies from the same place if they're like too focused on integrating with each other instead of other tools as well. Not saying that's a problem here, but just something I think about. SWR was inspired by TanStack Query, used to be known as React Query. TanStack Start is going to be the next JS killer. Something's got to be. If going to have to happen eventually. Might as well be this. I actually kind of like Next, but I'm not a huge fan of the integration with Versal. It's kind of feels like they're working on stuff that I don't really care about as a user. But yeah. I do like the Next.js app router though. I know it gets a lot of I mean, I've seen a lot of people comment about how they didn't like the app router, but my first time using Next.js was like with the app router API. I was like, this isn't bad. You know, use the app router like server components to like load data on the server side, and then it's like you can use server actions to like do RPC calls from the client. It's actually pretty slick. All the people who hate Next.js Versal are rooting into stack start. Yeah, well, maybe I'll have to try this on a project. Let's see. Gonna do a quick time check. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go in a couple minutes, but just reminded me BetterAuth's functions will automatically switch between using fetch or an RPC call, depending if you're on client or server. Oh, well, you could kind of use fetch in both places, right? It's like Node has fetch now, but maybe it does it a bit differently. Yeah, but in general, I like to use the helper functions. I mean, yeah. The whole point of a function is it's like encapsulating some logic, right? So if you can use their function, A, that's less code you have to write, and B, it's a smaller surface area of an API that you're building against versus if you were using whatever underlying functionality the function itself was encapsulating. So yeah, but yeah, I was just surprised, I guess. And it's interesting because like in the past, I've used Next Auth, formerly known as Next Auth, now known as Auth.js. And that worked pretty well too. I don't even remember how that one worked. It just kind of tied in with the Next app and was like, okay, yeah, you plug it in and it creates its own routes. It kind of does everything. Oh, that RPC. Is that really an RPC though? That's just a regular PC, right? It's a procedure call, not a remote procedure call. But yeah, it does make sense. Okay. Let's do the thing. So we've already committed all our changes. I think we've updated the notes file. Let me close this out. Push my changes. And I think I'm going to wrap up. But it's been nice. It's been nice chatting with you folks today. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next week.